Oh. Wow.
That was fast. I wasn't expecting you to be interesting. Oh, Jesus Christ.
I was already on my computer.
Wow. Well, obviously it's dinner time, so.
What you having?
Mostly just leftovers, Jay. We're eating some veggie soup, having some pasta. Heat up some sauce that's just been living in our freezer. I think I probably made it like 2 months ago, but it's fine because it's.
Yeah, probably won't. Oh no. I made a popsicle and it dripped on the kitten in my lap, but he hasn't noticed yet.
Baby.
Sorry, buddy. He's just purring away like nothing happened. I know. Did you notice yet? You might have noticed now. I'm sorry. I know it's tasty.
Can't cats like not taste sweetness or whatever?
I don't know.
I feel like that was a thing.
Can you not taste sweetness? He's like, no, because I am sweet.
I always find that kind of funny though, because like Philip was gonna go bananas or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
It doesn't fucking matter. Don't get me wrong, it is very handy that every time I go to update the stream information, it's just change the number by 1. Because it's just the last exit from the stream. But also, I'm just like, but stream. I've like completely stalled on all the video games I was playing.
You just gonna hang out here while we convict criminals? Go to trial?
Yeah, Philip is currently in full lap cat mode. Out in the living room.
Oh.
Okay, let me point bullets away.
Okay.
Let's see. Let's see here. Alright, are you ready, Renu?
Are we ikimashoing?
Ikimasho. Bop. Oh, baby, let's get it.
Ooh, new episode. I'm excited.
Memoirs of the Clouded Kokoro.
ブライヤーロードの歩道で起こった姿なき犯人による冬の夜の惨劇。背中を刺され倒れた裏若きレディーが生死をさまよううちに事件は解決した。窮地に陥った東洋人の留学生が我が友人によって救い出されたその晩、ガス灯の刻むほの暗い影の中、再び奇怪な事件が闇を切り裂いた。当時の新聞の戦場的な見出しを記憶している者も多いだろう。悪霊に見入られた死の邸宅、死刑囚の呪い、ガス魔人の恐怖。
ガス魔人。
現場に駆けつけた名探偵は瞬時にその真相を看破するのだが、それは悲劇の舞台の幕開けを告げるプレリュードに過ぎなかったのである。
プレルド。
Damn. Pretty intense. My name is Ryunosuke Naruhodo. I'm a fledgling lawyer, just starting out on my journey. 6 months ago, I arrived as a visiting student of law, having made the long voyage across the sea from the Empire of Japan to here, London, England. And on the way, in quite extraordinary circumstances, I made the acquaintance of a world-famous detective. Currently, I reside in the attic of the detective's own lodgings, where I run my legal consultancy of sorts. No wonder you don't get any fucking cases. I've successfully defended a number of clients in Britain's highest court, the Old Bailey. But since a particularly grueling and unforgettable legal battle 4 months ago now, I haven't returned to the courtroom. In truth, I lost my right to return.
Phoenix and all his ancestors always be like this.
They're always so emo. They're like, I haven't taken a case in 4 months. Ooh, I'm here, I'm whining about my trauma, all the bad things that happened to me.
Always.
It's fun, but y'all can just chill.
It's okay if y'all work a little bit between.
Also like, how do you guys pay rent ever?
I know, right?
Thanks to a letter that arrived this morning from my homeland.
Oh.
Oh.
Well, that's why you need to work.
What a delicious smell wafting up the stairs.
So you can afford food.
Must be nearly time for breakfast. I'd better go down to Mr. Sholmes' suite and say good morning to the great detective and his flatmate.
You just want to mooch. You mooching?
Oh, he mooching.
30th August, 7:28 a.m. Sholmes' suite.
Ah, Renu! Good. I was just about to call up to you. The bacon's ready.
Bacon.
Bacon.
Good morning, Iris. It smells delicious as usual. Before we eat, though, I have some news. I had a surprise this morning.
Shh! Not another word, Mr. Naruhodo! This could be just the abstruse thing for my pre-breakfast stagnation repelling mental stimulation, my dear fellow.
Morning to you too, Mr. Sholmes.
It's not a true mystery unless your protagonist is simultaneously starving to death and oh! This was one coming up to travel over the city. Ah, yes, I see. So that's it.
Excuse me, sir, why are you in my face?
The truth is as clear to me as day. My faculties of observation have revealed it again.
What are you talking about?
Hi, Mads. You, Mr. Naruhodo, you have, this very morning, met with a surprise.
Yeah, I was literally just saying that with my mouth.
Well, is that not the case? Really, my dear fellow, it barely warrants explanation. Firstly, your hair is particularly unkempt, somewhat reminiscent of a bird's nest. Secondly, you have neglected to fasten the third button of your jacket.
Oh, God.
Clearly, when considered together, these two facts point to you having been flustered this morning.
Can I talk now?
But of course, though I don't look for admiration, you understand.
My hair always looks like this. It's been this way since I first met you. Welcome back, Tyler.
Tyra.
Welcome back to the Women Respecting Club.
Respecting women. Oh, it has?
And the button was ripped off last night, if you remember. By you.
You know, this stuff writes itself.
It really does.
Haley pulled your button off.
Shh, you're 10 years old. You're not allowed to hear this.
Yes, I recall the incident now. It was after supper, was it not? As the the evening advanced, I picked up my violin and began to play the wailing notes of a haunting tune. But then, to my utter dismay, the third string snapped. Why did it have to happen? Why? Little wonder then that in my vexation, I grabbed the first button I saw and ripped it from its proper place. What?
Well, I'd like it back now, please. It's troubling me that I can't fasten my jacket.
What do you mean,
My
Sean?
God.
That's even less sensical than what we were thinking.
My violin broke, so I chose violence.
On your button. And it's troubling me that you expect me to know where it is. Somewhere thereabouts on the floor, one presumes.
Helpful.
What matters at the present time, my dear fellow, is simply whether or not my deduction was unerring. But Hurley, Renu said it when he came in, didn't he? Thank you, girlie. I had a surprise this morning.
I wasn't listening to that.
What makes you think I listen? Well, that really is a surprise.
Yes, this man is the pride of the British Empire, the famous consulting detective, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. I was bored this morning, so I drugged your dog. Oh boy. There can't be a single person in the world who doesn't know his name.
All right then, enough of this silly conversation. Come and eat this bacon before it gets cold. And I have a new herbal tea for you to try too. My latest special blend.
And here we have Iris Wilson, Mr. Sholmes' lodger and companion. A truly exceptional young girl who is the author of a highly successful serialization here in London. Yes, The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, as published in Ranced magazine.
So, Mr. Naruhodo, won't you put us out of our misery? What surprised you this fine morning?
Ah, well, I received a letter from Japan.
Oh, from Susie, you mean? Was it really?
That's right. She had some rather startling news, in fact.
Ah, intriguing indeed. You must tell us all about it over breakfast.
Oh yes, what fun!
They're all so cute. They just live together.
Yeah. This is the letter that arrived from Japan this morning by International Post. I feel like this is like the this is just kind of how it was for a lot of time, right? You would just like hang with your homies in your collective house together.
Yeah.
It's kind of a weird anomaly that we now kind of expect people to live in like these nuclear family units. Fuck that. Just get a house with all your homies.
House with your homies.
House with your homies. It's the best kind of house.
Oh, how lovely! Look at Susie's beautiful handwriting. I wish I could read it.
Let's see.
Homie house, homie house. And how is your judicial assistant faring, may I ask?
I hear she's a lawyer now.
No, no, right?
She's
I heard
very
she
well,
might have,
thank
like, you know,
Yeah.
committed a crime.
In fact, according to what she's written, she actually appeared as a lawyer at the Japanese Supreme Court and won a case.
Should you be saying this?
Whatever.
Pretty illegal.
I mean, the judge signed off on it, though, to be fair.
I mean, yeah, but it still.
Oh, isn't she wonderful?
A cut above your good self, my dear fellow.
Yeah, everybody knows that.
Hmm.
I've won cases too, you know.
Eh.
Apparently, Mr. Natsume appeared in the trial as a witness.
Natsume. No, I don't recall that name.
Of course you do! We helped the man twice! You know, in those 2 cases that took place on Briar Road 6 months ago.
Ah! The mustached, twitchy man with the somewhat feline eyes and the mustache.
He didn't have 2 mustaches, Hurley.
Yes, who could forget those 2 cases? They made a very deep impression on me. Although I must confess, the details are a little hazy now.
Very deep impression they made on you, clearly.
So, what was this startling news penned by Miss Susato?
Do you remember the case of the haunted lodgings, Mr. Sholmes?
Ah, yes. It's very interesting, you know. I don't feel entirely uncertain that a case of that nature did not occur.
He's totally forgotten, then. Anyway, in our letter, Mrs. Sato asked that we read over her case notes again and investigate further.
Though it took place half a year ago. For what purpose?
Because of something that Mr. Natsume said to her, apparently. He suggested that the real reason why she was called back to Japan so suddenly might have something to do with that case of the haunted lodgings. Bro, what's wrong with these lodgings?
Yeah, I know, right? Oh?
On Mr. Natsume's return to Japan, Miss Susato's father questioned him about the case, she says. And something Mr. Natsume said appeared to trouble Professor Mikotoba, prompting him to send that telegram.
Oh, that case, yes! It was very strange, wasn't it?
Yes.
And I had compiled the whole story into a nice, neat manuscript ready for publication, too. But then Hurley here was all funny about it, remember? He was very mean. That story must not be published, you said. Very mysteriously as well.
Really? I said that? Are you sure?
Do you perhaps know something about it as well, Mr. Sholmes? About why Miss Susato was suddenly told 4 months ago that she had to return to Japan?
It's been 4 months now since we waved Susie off at... Oh. Dover.
There you go. Sorry about that.
It was such a shock, wasn't it? The way she just suddenly announced that she had to go back to Japan.
Indeed it was. Due to a telegram she received from her homeland, I believe.
That's right. Telling her to return urgently.
Yes, because her father had passed away.
No. It said he was suffering from a high fever, the cause of which was unknown. He's not dead! But according to this letter, that news about her father's fever was just a ruse.
A ruse? So Susie's daddy lied to her so that she'd make the voyage back home? Why would he do that?
I have to admit, I have absolutely no idea. But she believes it's almost certainly related to the case of the haunted lodgings. Summoning her back to Japan so suddenly like that. I wonder what Miss Susato's father is hiding.
Hurley, do you know what it's all about?
Oh, he's got his coat on.
Ah, well, who can say?
What? But you said...
Please, I have engagements, my dear fellow. My calendar is quite surprisingly full today. And a stringent analysis of the matter would be excessive, I feel, even if I were quite at leisure. So, Man the fort in my absence, won't you, Iris?
Okay.
I will, Hurley, don't worry. See you later.
He scuttled off rather quickly there. Scuttle, scuttle, scuttle.
Yeah.
I think perhaps Professor Mikotoba isn't the only person hiding something here. Soseki-san was involved in 2 cases, but only one of them was forbidden from being published. By, of all people, Mr. Sholmes.
Aha! I found them at last.
Iris, are they?
The notes about the case? That's right. Susie and I compiled them together. The case of the haunted lodgings. Do you want to read them, Renu?
Absolutely. Thank you, Iris. I have no idea what secrets could still be hiding in the shadows of this case. But perhaps if I read over the notes again, something might come to light.
That's the spirit.
So, Iris and I decided to read over the case notes again together. Everything from what happened, to the investigation, and the fierce battle in court that followed. Reliving every detail. I just need to find a clue. I have all the time in the world. Because of course, I'm no longer allowed to practice law in the courts of Great Britain. What?
Wait, what happened? Why are you still here
My
then?
man, did you get fucking disbarred? Oh my god, holy shit, disbarring fucking
So now
speedrun.
you're unemployed and mooching.
Oh my god. It was 6 months ago. A mysterious incident that unfolded on the wintry streets of London.
Alright, let's hear it.
Definitely a Naruhodo then, yeah. A young woman was found lying on the snowy pavement of Briar Road with a knife in her back. Fortunately, her life was spared. She was unconscious for several days following the incident. I like that in this world, the things that are like genetically inherited are like your occupation and like your propensity for being disbarred from the law.
And the mental anguish after a big case.
Yeah.
To not work for a long time.
The fog was thick. Nobody saw her attack her, but by a cruel twist of fate, a visiting Japanese student was walking behind her at the time and was duly arrested. That man was Soseki-san. And the man who effected his arrest was Mr. Sholmes. Disbarred, you just got here? You know what, Magpie? We just got here. This is news to us.
Hi, Magpie. Welcome to the disbarment stream.
Let's see. After a grueling trial of many twists and turns, we finally managed to prove his innocence. I'm sure there was a line I skipped there, but joyful, joyous, jubilant, jubilation! Was the man's reaction after the trial. His jubilant jubilation was short-lived. I like how that when we did this case in the last game, he's like, I'm gonna go back to Japan! And then immediately he just gets fucking slapped with another case that we never knew about. We received a telegram from Mr. Sholmes the following morning. The victim of the Briar Road stabbing has regained consciousness. Hurry to Bart's at once. Disbarment stream where we dig deep into our poor choices, yep. So Susato-san and I summoned a hansom and headed immediately to the hospital. February 5:38. St. Bartholomew's Hospital. Recovery ward.
There you are at last.
Good morning, Mr. Sholmes.
I think not.
Oh,
You're late. What on earth took you so long?
your telegram only arrived at 5 o'clock, Mr. Sholmes. And it's a 20-minute ride to the hospital.
That's right, and it's 5:30 now. I think we made very good time.
The time is utterly irrelevant. The fact is, I have been waiting for what has felt like an eternity. That rat is huge.
Oh my god, look at it!
It is enormous.
Holy shit! It's like the size of a cat!
I know.
Jesus.
In point of fact, I myself was awoken at 4 this morning by a telegram boy. And feeling it was somewhat unjust that I alone had been roused at such an hour, I sent one to you.
Wow. We're only here because of vindictiveness. He's like, wake up! If I have to be awake, you have to be awake.
He's really one of these people.
Well, thanks for that.
Anyway, you're here now, so the victim is over there. She's only just regained consciousness. Oh. You should introduce yourselves, and I shall observe from here.
It's a mongoose, and you have to accept this as truth for your own peace of mind. This is like the kind of rat that you know, you like. It's like the size of a raccoon.
It's like as big as her arm. Look at it.
Like if this rat like stood up on its hind legs, it's like a third to half of her like body height. Like this, if this rat was like, hey, give me a crackers, I'd be like, oh my god, okay, here you go, Jesus.
Yeah, take my wallet too.
Yeah, take my wallet. Oh my god. You can just ask for company and moral support, Sholmes, on your way too early. Yeah, honestly. So that's the lady who was found on the snow-covered pavement with a knife in her back.
Her name is... yes, here we are. Miss Green.
Okay, I gotta know, man.
Yeek! A mouse, Mr. Naruhodo!
Vermin in a hospital? That doesn't seem the best.
But it looks like a very healthy specimen, doesn't it? It's very plump.
Yeah, that thing is huge. I'm not sure we can say that's down to the excellence of this facility, if that's what you were thinking. Yeah, maybe it's a fancy rat. This is a ratatouille rat, you know?
It's the physician.
That's the doctor. Put some respect on his name.
That must be a bag of Miss Green's personal belongings.
She would have been brought directly here after she was found stabbed on the pavement, though.
I expect a friend or family member probably brought some things for her.
Alright then, let's see what's inside. A change of clothes, no doubt, and...
No, Mr. Naruhodo. You must never scrutinize a young maiden's personal belongings.
I like how he was really ready to just, like, start investigating her bag. But, like,
Actually,
she's
no.
right there.
Yeah.
But the young maiden might have chocolates, or biscuits, or caramel. He's fucking rooting for snacks! He's like, what if she got some snackies, though? I'm kind of hungry. Like, I didn't get to eat breakfast. We had to rush out at 5 in the morning when we got that telegram.
He hungry.
He's hungry. This rounded wooden figure isn't the most charming, is it?
I don't think that's a decoration, Mr. Naruhodo. It's an artist's mannequin, I believe. Used when practicing sketching the human form in different poses.
Really? It's not exactly what you'd call a typical figure for that purpose, though, is it?
No, I suppose not. I confess I've never seen one quite so full-figured before.
Well, if you want to draw a full-figured person, it's the right tool for the job.
Hmm.
there's a photograph in this frame here.
Oh?
Oh, yes. It's a picture of a young gentleman.
He's got a wedding band on. My man's is married.
Hmm.
He looks to be about the same age as Miss Green, I would say. Perhaps the young woman's special someone, do you think? Mannequins don't come in that shape, you've looked. It's disappointing. Come on, artists.
My, Mr. Naruhodo. I didn't know you had a sense for the matters of the heart.
Bro, she's like low-key roasting you here. It's like, I didn't think you had a romantic bone in your goddamn body. Not in the least. I sincerely said the first thing I thought of. Oh, this looks like the patient's treatment notes. Let's see. Do not feed. What is this place, a zoo?
What?
You know, I seem to remember seeing an almost identical sign in our local park.
For the pigeons? Yes? This is a pigeon. Ryunosuke responds to Roast's disagreement. Poor woman. I hope she hasn't read this. What? Are you telling me that an English hospital might be fat-phobic? And lots of bottles in that cabinet, aren't there? Do you think it's safe to keep them like that? What if there was like an earthquake or something?
If you were a patient here, I feel sure you'd take some medicine by mistake when you were half asleep.
Oh my god, Susato, what are you doing? What are you up to? That is a worry, but at least the cabinet has a lock, even if it's only a flimsy-looking one.
Oh, I've no doubt you'd manage to unlock that somehow while you were half asleep as well.
Oh my god.
What does he do while he's half asleep?
Susato's like, this flimsy lock, I could crush this with my bare hands. There are limits even to what I can do when I'm half asleep, you know, Miss Susato. Like, oh god, what do you think I am? Good morning. Hello. I'm Ryunosuke Naruhodo from the Empire of Japan.
Wow, big empire.
Would you like this?
All right. Oh no! Was it your knife that? Are you the man who?
No! I'm a lawyer. I never stab somebody.
And I'm Susato Mikotoba. Pleased to meet you.
Although if he's wearing his law sword on his hip, I guess I would be concerned too.
Oh no! Was it your knife then? Are you the one? No. I assure you, I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant. We heard that you'd regained consciousness and wanted to come in to give you our best wishes.
Yeah.
Oh shit! It's
Just racist thing. You see one Japanese person stalking awkwardly behind you in the dark before you get stabbed, and suddenly every Japanese person.
Best wishes for me? Oh, thank you. I'm Olive Green. I'm an artist. Well, no, that's not right, is it? What I mean is, I'm trying to be an artist. Well, what I really mean is, I desperately want to be an artist.
I believe in you.
But the truth is, I don't have any talent. I know I don't.
Don't say that. Believe in yourself. It's not about talent. It's about doing your best. Art.
Look at Ryunosuke.
Look at Ryunosuke. This man can barely lawyer. He's gonna get disbarred in like 6 months. Follow your fucking dreams.
It It's no wonder I was stabbed in the back.
Oh no!
I don't think that's related, actually.
Gosh, this young woman seems to bend over backwards to put herself down.
Seeing as we're here, we should ask her about what happened from her perspective, I suppose. To suddenly be struck in the back by a blade as you were walking along the pavement. What a terrible experience you had, Miss Green.
It was so cold that day, and the fog was so thick, I couldn't see a thing. That was 4 days ago now, I think. Is that right? Yes, that's right. I'm afraid you've been comatose all that time. But the case has been solved, hasn't it? While I've been here in hospital, I mean.
Indeed it has, my dear madam. Spectacularly, by none other than I, Herlock Sholmes.
Oh my god, I forgot you were here.
I know, right? You're so quiet.
Mr. Sholmes, as you well know, it was Mr. Naruhodo's hard work in court that solved the case.
Are you yet to hear what happened, Miss Green? Oh, you're never gonna fucking believe this.
Oh dear me.
Yes, I'm afraid so. A gentleman from the police force is supposed to be coming to fill me in shortly. Oh, I see. Me coming round seems to have made everyone frantically busy. I'm so sorry. I should never have regained consciousness. It was selfish of me.
Whoa.
Oh no!
Hi.
We're all so relieved that you're on the mend, Miss Green. We really we are.
With that kind of attitude, maybe her surname should be Blue, not Green. Nyuk, nyuk, nyuk. Ain't you just a jokester, Mr. Naruhodo?
Like them jokes.
So, you're an artist, are you, Miss Green?
Oh no! I couldn't possibly claim that. I'm a fledgling artist at best. I mean, I'm a student of art, really, at the Thorndike Academy of Fine Arts. Oh my, an Academy of Fine Arts! Great Britain is such a wonderful country.
Tell me, Miss Green, do you live hereabouts?
Oh no, actually, I don't deserve it, but I have a little flat on Brixton Road.
I see. How very interesting.
Oh no, is it?
Brixton is some 10 shops away on the underground from here. And Thorndike Academy is a mere 3-minute walk from Brixton town center.
Does that matter, Mr. Sholmes?
Perhaps not. But Briar Road is a far less salubrious part of town by comparison, dwelt in by those of inferior means.
If you catch my drift, that's where the poor people live!
Including the maleficent Mr. Mustache.
this like profile photo of him, he looks so funny. He's like
That's him constantly.
inferior means. I suppose Soseki-san does fit the bill. Hashtag starving artist.
It struck me as somewhat out of the ordinary for a young fine arts student to be walking in such a district. That's all.
What's this? She suddenly clammed up.
Mr. Sholmes, you should be ashamed of yourself, prying into a young maiden's private affairs.
Oh dear me, do forgive me.
If you don't mind. I'm being discharged shortly, so I need to pack up my things.
Oh, yes, of course. We'll keep you. Thank you so much, Miss Green. Is there a Mr. Narrowforter here? Mr. Narrowforter! Narrowforter now? Well, okay, if you're looking for Naruhodo the lawyer, that's me, but... Ah, Mr. Narrowforter, good. This is for you. It's a message from a Mr. Saucy Natsume. Mr. Natsume sent a message to me? How can you even, like... I was gonna say, how can you even, like, parse what he's saying? But I guess... You know he's talking about the one other Japanese person he's seen today.
Yeah, it has to be the one other Japanese person.
But why would a policeman be delivering a message from Mr. Natsume?
This is gonna be so funny. He's gonna be like, "Help! I'm trapped again!" Exactly. What's going on? Oh, God. What's a Scotland Yard constable doing playing delivery boy at this time in the morning?
What are you waiting for? Let me see that.
Stop ruminating! Ugh!
Mine.
Ow!
Wow. This is most unexpected.
Is something wrong, Mr. Sholmes?
Is something wrong, Mr. Sholmes? He says. Have you not seen this note?
Well, no. You kind of took it out of my hands as I was about to read it. I was thinking really hard about what it could be. No, how could I have?
It would seem that London's criminals have no intention of letting the great detective rest. A new case calls. A case of murder, no less. We must depart at once.
Oh, boy.
Murder?
Call a cab. Time is of the essence.
But the trouble is, we've yet to read Mr. Natsume's note. I was thinking we ought to pay him a visit in his lodgings once we did.
That will be entirely convenient.
Because he's going to need your legal counsel yet again.
Convenient? What do you mean?
It's all here in the note, my dear fellows. The murder we must investigate took place at Mr. Mustache's lodgings.
Wait, what?
I'll hail what is
God, what is this word? I've never seen this before.
A small four-wheeled carriage for public hire. Fiacre.
Fiacre.
I'll hail a fiacre at once.
God, it's just that though. How many words for cab are in the English language? Jesus. It was only yesterday that Soseki-san was in court, and we were dispelling doubts about his innocence. And now, the very next day, it's a murder at the man's own address? He may very well be the unluckiest man alive. So it seemed to us at the time. But we were soon to discover it was worse than we thought. Sounds pretty bad. How the fuck did you get him off? 21st February, 7:18 a.m. Mr. Natsume's lodgings, ground floor. So you still have to learn every single vocab. Yeah.
I was thinking it had to be about the fancy man.
Yeah, the guys who were arguing. I was thinking about that too. I was like, it was weird that they had like actual character designs, but they never came up again.
Right.
But there's a hidden case that we just didn't know about.
There we go.
We just kind
We're just sitting there waiting.
Oh my, the gentleman is deceased without question. He's dead.
Local student, Mr. Naruto Esquire!
Oh no.
Mr. Natsume.
Oh no.
Oh, why? Why is this happening? Why to me?
No.
I've only just gotten out of court yesterday. I was finally home after 2 days of misery.
Oh, I'm sorry, man. This sucks.
And then I wake up the next day to this. No early bird to catch a worm like this.
No.
Woeful worm without wiggle.
I see you're in high spirits again this morning, Mr. Mustache.
Not the horrible Sherlock Holmes. Shoo! Shove off! Show yourself the door! I never invited you!
Mr. Sholmes came here with us. I'm quite sure he'll be able to help you, Mr. Natsume.
I'm entirely at your disposal, Mr. Mustache. What can I do for you? Hey!
There he is.
Tisk, here they are, already. The busybodies.
Shut up, Mr. Tobias Gregson. You're gonna get court-martialed in like a couple months. Just
Yeah.
you wait.
Just you wait.
I have knowledge of the future, and you're gonna get owned.
Ah, Inspector Gregson. What a pleasant surprise. Pleasant, is it? Gives me heartburn every time I see your face at a crime scene, Sholmes. Ha! I deduce, Inspector, that your heartburn is a result of your excessive consumption of fried food. Don't you say that about his fish and chips.
Good morning, Inspector.
This is a crime scene. Don't you go touching anything.
Good morning to you too, Sunshine. Welp. Oh boy.
That man's is very unalive.
Yes, he has unalived.
Oi! I said hands off. You're gonna mess up my crime scene.
Oh, no? I just wanted to look.
No chance. I know your kind. You'll mess it up just by looking at it.
Someone's in a bad mood.
There's certainly some bad air in here, isn't there?
Alright, sounds like I'd better talk to the inspector first and try to curry some favor. Alright, Mr. Gregson. So, Inspector, what was the victim's name? Who was he? Why is he dressed like that?
Oh. Oh. Mr. William Shamspeare. He was a lodger here. As you can probably tell, he was an actor. Bit of a dead loss as it happens. Or just dead.
He is dead.
Mr. Shamspeare.
It was the landlord, old Mr. Garadeb, and the other lodger, Mr. Natsume, who found him. The fella didn't rise at his usual hour, so Garadeb got worried and kicked the door down.
But doesn't Mr. Garadeb have a bad leg?
Ah, yeah, you're right there. It was that jittery Japanese hunchback over there who actually did the kicking.
God damn, got some legs
Oh.
on you, Mr. Natsume.
Yeah, let's go.
Really? Soseki-san?
The victim was pretty hard up, it seems. Even done some time inside for petty crimes. He had no money, no place to go, and no friends. His only acquaintances were the people in this house. Miserable life and a miserable end to it.
So, what exactly is Mr. Natsume still doing here? He's not involved in the investigation, so shouldn't you have sent him away from the crime scene?
Well, I'm not saying it's because the fella looks odd or anything, or that he acts suspicious. But I thought it would be prudent to take a statement from the culprit. I mean, cohabiter?
You nearly said culprit there, didn't you?
Oh dear. Mr. Natsume appears to be under suspicion again.
It certainly seems that way. He does just come across as such an odd fellow, doesn't he?
Poor man. How unfortunate.
Look at him, he's so distraught.
Oh. Anyway, I can't say much until the coroner gets here. But I don't think the fella's been a goner for that long. The body's still warm.
Even if the inspector would allow it, I don't think I could bring myself to touch a dead body. Well, I guess we can look at things then. Or maybe we can just talk to Mr. Natsume. What a terrible thing to have happened. It's only been 3 days since I was arrested for the incident on the pavement outside. And then, having finally regained my freedom, it starts happening all over again. Endless existence of excruciating experiences. So the victim lived here on the ground floor. Your room is just one story up, isn't it? Yes, that's right. In a way, we were neighbors, I suppose. So, did you know the victim? Were you friends? What's the matter with Soseki-san now? It was an innocent enough question, wasn't it? Why does he seem so shaken by it? Well, I suppose he wasn't a complete stranger. But did he ever invite me to his room? Never. On my honor, I swear it.
What an extreme reaction. You're probably wishing you'd never asked now, aren't you, Mr. Naruhodo?
A little bit, yeah. When we found him here, I felt wretched, which is why I sent word asking you to come. Through that inspector over there! So, what you doing up there, sir? What you doing up there, sir? Can I help you? Mr. Sholmes, what are you doing?
You need only observe to know it, my dear fellow. Investigating, naturally.
There's nothing natural about that pose.
Mr. Sholmes, have you made some miraculous discovery?
Patience, my dear madam, patience. We've not been here in this room 5 minutes. So far, all I've managed to deduce is what actually happened.
That sounds like a lot. Sounds like you deduced a lot.
Yeah.
My goodness! But isn't that everything we need to know, Mr. Sholmes?
Now that you propose the idea, I believe one could, indeed, see it that way. present time, I have managed to draw 2 incontrovertible conclusions.
Good morning, Sean. We've learned some great things today.
Sean, we got disbarred.
So
Record time.
we're currently in a flashback, sort of. Like, we're reading through the case notes, which means we're just playing through an old case. But that case is the one that takes chronologically right after the Gyarados one, where the lady got stabbed in the back by a falling knife. And this is Mr. Natsume Soseki gets accused of murder, round 2.
Mm-hmm.
And also in the future, we've been disbarred. Runs in the family.
The first, that there was a physical struggle here last night in which the victim fought for his life.
Yeah, rough time for Ryunosuke. Basically, like, Ryunosuke gets disbarred, and meanwhile, Susato is out here fucking killing it as a lawyer. Ah! Mr. Natsume, what's wrong? Is something that Mr. Sholmes said significant somehow? No. Mind me. Forget I was here.
You screamed!
Forget
And
it.
my second conclusion is that there was a poison lingering in the air here last night that passed the victim's lips.
No, nonsense! All right, Mr. Natsume, why are you reacting so extremely to Mr. Sholmes' deductions? No, please, pretend I'm not here! Invisible, ineffable, inscrutable, insignificant. Impossible to ignore.
You must tell us everything, Mr. Sholmes. Spare no detail.
But of course. Let the theatrical tragedy before us be unraveled by my great deductions, presented for your pleasure in 2 acts.
We've heard some truly astounding great deductions from Mr. Sholmes in the past. No doubt this will be no exception. What miracles will unfold before our eyes this time?
So, my dear fellows, for your delight and wonder, let the curtain rise. For Herlock Sholmes' logic and reasoning spectacular. Act 1.
Oh, baby, it's time. It's time. The game is afoot. Cause
Waiting.
death.
Careful observation of the victim reveals to us the events that transpired in this disconsolate room last night. Foam at the mouth of the deceased clearly indicates the use of poison. Next to the victim, we notice a large dining plate, which contains, you will observe, 1/2 of a sizable bar of soap. Meaningful? Indubitably.
I don't think this guy was murdered. I think he ate half a bar of soap and fucking
No! Why is this soap set so purposefully upon the dish? Like the victim's last supper, in fact. Yes. Could it be that the man was about to eat it? Of course, the fork reveals the answer. It appears that the young man's appetite was his undoing. Taking up arms in the form of his cutlery, the victim engaged in a deadly battle for his life. Yet the struggle against his hunger was in vain, for in the end he couldn't resist devouring the slippery feast. Yeah, this is...
Oh my god.
We're really going here, huh? But London's foul soap is besmirched by foul poison.
He did eat this soap. God. Is it gonna be like the last game where there's a second Sherlock case for investigation stuff? That's a good question. I feel like there may be a trial portion, but who's to say?
Yes, the victim's life was claimed by poison that tainted the contents of the plate. The soap and the lather about the young man's mouth are too perfectly matched to ignore. The cause of death was clearly intoxication due to excessive ingestion of foul soap. Though personally, I have a greater interest in the taste of foul candle wax, of course. What do you mean, of course?
Poisoning from soap ingestion. Suicide or murder?
The cause of death identified, we proceed to Act 2, where we ponder the next question. Was this suicide or murder? The audience will recall that death occurred during the victim's Last Supper. Did the man dine and die alone? This single teacup suggests the answer. To draw a conclusion on such meager evidence would be foolish. However, certainly, the careful criminal could have absconded with his own cup to cover his tracks. Well, allow me to lift the veil of doubt, my dear fellow. Indeed, what reveals the answer, of course, is the broken lock. Though forced open now at the time of the incident, this door was locked. And the sole key was in the victim's pocket. In other words, when the victim consumed the poison, he must have been alone. Alone with his inferior soap, from whence wafted an inferior scent. And with that acrid aroma lingering in the air, the victim met his end in tragic solitude. We can take comfort only in the fact that his soul was well cleansed on its way to the hereafter.
God damn, Mr. Shaw. What the fuck?
Thus concludes the final act of Sherlock Holmes's great deduction.
Good God, man. I don't know, it seems pretty likely to me. It seems more likely than some of the other deductions we've seen. 16-month resubscription.
Ooh!
Dabs. Herlock's a genius. That's true. He's a fucking genius. He solved it. All right. Case closed, everybody. Let's go home.
Home.
There's just one thing, Mr. Sholmes.
You are disposed to identifying just one thing, aren't you, Mr. Naruhodo? Pray, what concerns you?
Well, no matter how hungry he was, do you really think the man would have eaten soap?
It is quite apparent that this man had barely a penny to his name. It is a curious thing, but to one so destitute, soap can suddenly appear quite irresistibly appetizing. How extraordinary! Susato, no.
Stop it.
In truth, I have tried a little soap myself in the past.
Good God, man.
Of course you have.
You've eaten it, you mean?
My dear fellow, it was some time ago now. My postulation was that it would cleanse my gut.
Oh my God.
And did it? As I writhed in agony on the floor and spilt the contents of my stomach, Yes, I believe it did.
Oh my god. Jesus Christ.
The experience taught me a valuable lesson. Soap is quite poisonous.
This is like old soap too. It's got like lion shit in it. Would actually could probably put you under.
It has an unpleasant taste and leads to great discomfort. In summary, I cannot recommend it.
Believe me, I wouldn't eat it even if you did.
There's something that troubles me as well, actually.
Suction's action, he's projecting. Oh, what's that?
It's Mr. Natsume.
Huh.
Ha!
I couldn't help noticing him shuddering and quivering out of the corner of my eye. Almost as if Mr. Sholmes' deductions touched a nerve somehow.
Nonsense. Well, that clenched teeth episode didn't last.
I think, judging by Mr. Natsume's reaction, the great detective's deductions may need some gentle corrections in order to reach the actual truth.
I'm sure we want to do this, Yusato. Seems like a lot of work. Yes, Mr. Sholmes' observations and deductions are sometimes a little too sharp. There's a tendency to hit the nail on the side of the head and drive it in an obtuse angle. When he does that, it falls to us to straighten things out. Alright then, let's see what we can do.
Yes, we must pick out the key words in Mr. Sholmes' quite brilliant deductions. And, discreetly, exchange them for something that makes a little more sense.
You hope he handcuffs you just for old time's sake? Yeah, honestly.
If we can do that, I'm sure we'll arrive at what Mr. Sholmes meant to say in the first place.
In that case, are you ready for the second performance of the day? I like that he's just game for it.
Yeah, he's here. He loves it.
Once again, my dear fellows, for your continued delight and wonder, let the curtain rise. For Herlock Sholmes' logic and reasoning spectacular. Act 1.
Maybe he's wrong on purpose just so he can do this. You know what? That's fair. It's entirely possible. He just really likes it. He's like, I get to hang out with my buddy Ryunosuke.
So cute.
Boom.
Well, you can't deny that a fork implies the man was eating something, or about to eat something.
Yes, that's true.
I get to dance with my buddy Ryunosuke while deducing. There's no greater thrill in this world.
If I were to decide to eat some soap, I should prefer to use a fork than to attempt it with chopsticks.
And of course, only half the bar of soap is left on the plate.
But might there not be some other explanation? Something material that proves whether or not the man really ate some soap.
Could it be that the man? Of course. Let's see. Did the victim really eat some soap?
Spin around him.
This is as far as we can spin out.
You see the other half on the floor.
Wait, oh, there it is. Ah, whoop. Oh, look, there's more soap on the floor here. Mr. Shakespeare must really have loved this stuff.
Let's not jump to conclusions, Mr. Naruhodo. Look closely at the soap. Do you see that it would fit together perfectly with the half bar on the table?
What the? How could that be? But he ate the other half.
I think that they are two halves of the same bar that broke apart.
So you mean like they broke apart and then he ate half of the half? Or what?
Hey. Could I?
Could it be that the man was about to eat it? Of course, the other piece of soap reveals the answer. Let's see.
It being the other half of the soap on the table. In short, the victim was not eating soap at all. But it's obvious, really, for no depths of hunger could drive any man to attempt to eat soap. Even I, with my unquenchable thirst for practical knowledge, took only a single bite.
Thanks, Mr. Sholmes. That begs the question of how the man was poisoned, because there's no sign of any food on the table.
An excellent observation, Mr. Naruhodo, and one that furnishes us with the answer we seek. For London's foul soap is besmirched by foul poison.
Bam!
Mr. Sholmes is still pushing the soap argument then.
Perhaps he's suggesting the man licked the soap rather than ate it.
If soap in London is that poisonous, I don't think I want to be washing my hands with it.
Yeah.
But there are no signs of any food in this room at all.
Of course, food isn't the only thing that passes people's lips, is it?
Yes, a Western vessel for the serving of infusions of dried tea leaves.
It's a teacup, Mr. Naruhodo, as you well know. Stop putting on airs. And it's empty.
Ah, so we've already established that the victim wasn't eating soap when he died. However, there's significant evidence to suggest that he was drinking tea.
My thoughts exactly.
Maybe he was drinking the soap. Yes, the victim's life was claimed by poison that tainted the teacup.
Indeed, cups have been the vessel of choice for practicing poisoners over the centuries. And it would appear that this victim drank every last drop.
There's no sign of food anywhere in the room.
Which leads us to the immutable conclusion.
It's so funny how he just kind of like pops up.
I know. The cause of death was clearly intoxication due to the ingestion of poison contained in this teacup.
Poison in the tea. Only a single bite of soap, the memoirs of a great detective. Ah, the Western vessel for infused hot drinks again. It's already featured heavily in our deductions so far.
Yes, we can imagine that shortly before his death, Mr. Shamspeare was having a drink of tea. There would be nothing remarkable about that. But what troubles me
is Mr. Natsume's reaction when he heard Mr. Sholmes suggest it. There's more to this deduction than it seems.
We must closely examine the scene of the crime again for some more clues.
Oh, wait. He's got a teacup.
Ah!
It's another Western vessel for infused...
It's a teacup! And it too is empty.
Given that he's actually holding this one in his hand.
We can assume that this is the cup from which Mr. Shamspear was actually drinking.
But if that's the case, this changes everything. Everything we've deduced up to now is turned on its head. I have a bad feeling about this. I almost don't want to say it. His name is William Shamspear.
Yes, I know exactly how you feel.
Did the man dine and die alone? This other teacup suggests the answer. Yes, there were 2 teacups in this room all along. In other words, this is a strong indication that at the victim's Last Supper, there was a guest present.
At the very least, we can say now with certainty that somebody else was here in this room last night, taking tea with the victim.
What are you talking about? Utterly, unbelievably, unjustly, unreasonable.
To draw a conclusion on such meager evidence would be foolish, however, certainly.
In which case, what more can we deduce about this possible guest at the table?
Well, allow me to lift the veil of doubt, my dear fellow.
Do you mean to say you know exactly who was in this room at the time of the victim's death? I'm not sure I like where this deduction is going now.
I'm afraid it's too late to go back to the halcyon days of eating too much soap.
I like that theory better. But the identity of the guest who was in here last night when the victim passed away is something I have a very bad feeling about.
Mm-hmm. Well, you can try to ignore your feelings, but we cannot ignore the truth, Mr. Naruhodo.
No, I suppose not. Time to look around again. At first glance, it seems that the only things in this room are the makeshift stage and the costumes. I overlooked these 3 books initially.
I wonder what they are. Let's see. The titles read: The Picture of Monsieur Lecoq, Canterbury Yearnings, and A Meal for Gabarreau.
Wait, I'm sure I've heard those titles before.
Uh-huh.
It could just be an incredible coincidence, but they're the exact same 3 books that Mr. Natsume purchased the other day.
What? Yes, on the day of the unfortunate incident when Miss Green was stabbed. Soseki-san had just been to a bookshop and bought them. That's right.
And now those 3 titles are here in the room of the victim.
Yet Mr. Natsume claims never to have been here before. What does this mean, do you think?
I really don't know what to make of it.
Pile of familiar. Indeed. What reveals the answer, of course, is the pile of familiar books.
Quite so. It's no mere coincidence that these 3 titles are here in this room. It's the link to the truth.
Ah!
Ah!
Mr. Natsume, you purchased these books 4 days ago at a secondhand bookshop. That's just a coincidence?
In that case, you'll be able to bring the same 3 titles from your own room, will you not? This very moment?
No, never! Non-negotiable! If you can't bring your own copies here, it proves that these 3 books are in fact yours. having purchased the books 4 days ago and returned to your lodgings, you were arrested the very next day. So you could conceivably have brought the books here on that evening, but you never mentioned them.
In other words, you could only have brought these 3 books here to the victim's room.
These silhouettes.
Last night, having returned to your lodgings after the trial concluded at the Old Bailey. In short, there is only one possible conclusion. The victim died here in his room last night as a result of poisoning.
And that same night, the victim had a visitor.
And that visitor?
Was you, Mr. Soseki Natsume.
Thus concludes the final act of Sherlock Holmes's great deduction.
Soseki Natsume at the scene. Solved. Deduction complete. Elementary. Not again! Not again! Not again!
No.
Not again!
No. Well then, Mr. Natsume. It would appear you're gonna have to accompany me down to the yard. Again.
Hold your horses!
No. Yes?
Door, key, locked, entry, exit, entirely impossible! He's so flustered, he's being even stranger than normal. Just get past this time so you can witness a third murder in the future. That's true.
What? You think that's an alibi? You could have just made a copy.
Oh, that reminds me, Tyler, we have a house key for you.
Ah.
What?
You live in the same building after all. You'd have plenty of opportunity, I'm sure.
What? Mystery me!
Sorry, sir. You'll get your chance to give your side of the story later. The facts speak for themselves, Mr. Mustache.
You horrible hairlock Sholmes! He really has found himself an arch rival now, hasn't he?
Come on now, no dilly-dallying. Outside, there's a carriage waiting.
Welcome, student Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire!
Oh.
I never imagined I'd be in this position again, but... You have to help me, please, please! I'm innocent!
I mean, Naruhodo kind of helped put you in this position too with Sherlock.
Alright, I understand. Come to your cell later and we'll talk about it. One more thing. Oh, yes? A poor little kitty cat.
No!
Give him his breakfast for me.
No!
Somehow Renu's considered to have escaped his rage despite being primarily responsible. Yeah. And so, his evil curse still apparently unbroken, Soseki-san found himself once again the prime suspect in a case of murder. That last case was a murder. Thanks to the incriminating deduction of the great detective. Yeah, I mean, you helped!
You did help. My dear fellow, that honor belongs to you.
Oops. Well, at least that means that Inspector Gregson is no longer here. We can examine the crime scene in more detail now.
Yes, that's right. Ah, and of course.
What?
Have you forgotten what the inspector mentioned before? It was the landlord, Mr. Garadeb, who discovered Mr. Shamspear.
Oh, Mr. John Garadeb, yes.
I expect we could find him in his sitting room on the top floor as usual.
Right. We must remember to go and talk to him later then. Look, let's have ourselves a looky around.
What's this?
Looks like part of an envelope, I think.
Yes, I think you may be right. Perhaps it was torn off when the letter was opened.
Is that significant?
Well, it's a little out of place, perhaps, when you look around the room. There's no sign of the letter, or the rest of the envelope, in fact. Is there?
Because it was green, you thought it was Morse up? That's what I thought at first, too. Huh, she's right.
And yet here we have the torn off end of an envelope. It just strikes me as unusual.
I agree. We'd better take this just in case. Look at these extravagant bright costumes. Somehow they look out of place in this room with its grim, shady goings-on.
This one looks like a king's attire.
A king? I've always dreamt of being a king.
Oh, I think you'd be more suited to a feudal lord, a daimyo or such like.
The chonmage top knot? Every Japanese man wishes he had a chonmage.
Oh, you'd look wonderful with one, and you already have the sword.
Can you imagine what would happen if I walked around the streets of London with a chonmage and a sword? Oh my goodness.
There's not much on these shelves, is there? Just this wine glass and bottle. And both of them are cracked.
Yes, not much use, are they? What's the matter?
Oh, I was just reminded of the Reaper, that's all.
Prosecutor Lord Van Zeeks?
Yes, he's so reckless with his wine glasses. I was thinking it's a waste and that he should donate some to the needy.
Oh, so we're finally addressing this, are we? You can suggest it next time we meet.
As we've seen from the outside, the window is completely bricked up. A vestige of the former window tax that Britons had to pay.
Strange things they used to tax in Great Britain. I mean, making people pay for the number of windows they had in a property? It's extraordinary. I remember when we learned about the window tax.
It's heartbreaking to think of the poor having to block up their windows just to avoid an unaffordable tax. Oh,
What is it, Mrs. Sato?
if you look closely, a number of the bricks are loose.
Well, how about that? Oh, yes.
Huh?
It looks as though an amateur has broken out a few of them just here. Was it Mr. Shamspear who did it, I wonder? Being the lodger renting this room.
Aha! Look at this, Mr. Naruhodo. On the outside, there's a little ledge. and there's something on it.
What? Outside?
Brr, it's so cold outside. You can feel it through this gap.
It did snow all last night. It would be cold. More importantly, what is it on the ledge out there? What are those snow-covered lumps?
It's more bars of soap.
Bro, why is there so much soap here?
That's why this is like.
Soap? What are bars of soap doing lined up on a ledge outside the window?
I have no idea. But the pair of them look rather charming like that.
Okay. Alright. Still, it's very strange, isn't it? Bars of soap lined up outside the window? I think perhaps we should take one. There are two after all.
Oh dear. I suppose we could. Oh, what's this? Look here at the soap.
Ah,
Do you see it? In the middle there. There's a patch that's a different color. It's sort of transparent, but
some sort of fancy design, I suppose. Only in Great Britain.
it looks like the Hinomaru flag of Japan, doesn't it? How wonderful. It's probably a very expensive brand.
Expensive. What's it doing in this ramshackle old room? Bar of soap entered into court record. Lots of soap today. Here we have another disproportionately large machine. This looks like a meter of some kind.
Ah, this is a gas meter, I think. It seems that in this district, residents pay for gas as they use it with coins.
Oh my god. Ah, I see. Yes, now you've pointed it out. I can see that there's a slot just here that looks like it would take a coin. So you mean if you put a coin in here...
That's right. That would buy you about 2 hours of gas for lights and heating.
Bro... Did he die of gas poisoning? So, if you were a poor person with no money, you'd have to sleep in the freezing cold?
Yes, or if you were a scatterbrain with no change because you forgot to exchange your money at the bank.
Thank goodness there's no meter in our office. I think he put that weird little disky boy from the soap in there and got the gas going and then died.
Oh, the poor man. So young to die. Do you suppose it was a very painful death, being poisoned as he was?
I don't know. All we can do now is hope that he'll be reborn to a better life.
Yes, I suppose you're right. I wonder... Do you think that putting our hands together in a Japanese prayer will help a British soul?
Sorry?
I made sure I had a reference at the ready for just such an occasion as this, actually. This book is entitled The Beginner's Guide to Praying for the Departed, the British Way.
Grim.
I'll just reread it now. One moment.
There's quite a spine on that book, isn't there? This is a gas wall light, isn't it? It must be connected to a gas pipe in the wall.
Gas lights, a gas stove. London really is a city of gas.
Gas lights. Gaslight. Gatekeep. Girl boss.
What?
But now that I think about it, Mr. and Mrs. Garrett had an open fire on the top floor, didn't they?
Oh yes, you're right. I don't recall seeing a gas stove up there.
Well, I much prefer a real fire anyway. It's so much cozier.
This is some sort of makeshift stage, I think. Isn't it?
Where does the audience sit, though, for the nightly Shakespeare performances?
Actors aspiring to the great stage must practice their art, Mr. Naruhodo, with or without an audience. In fact, on a related note, perhaps you should set up a mock bench for the defense in your office.
What?
Then you could practice your art every single day.
I'll think about it. If you promise to don a beard and play the role of the judge.
Well, if that would help you achieve your goal.
I mean, Susato in the crossplay, we've already seen
That's true. We've established she's very dashing. This I have to see. Looks like that's everything. Oh, nope, teacup.
One of the teacups that Mr. Shamspeare and his guest drank from last night. But don't go drinking from them, Mr. Naruhodo. There's bitter poison inside.
I'm not planning on drinking any, don't worry. Anyway, the cups are both empty.
That's true. So one was Mr. Shamspeare's. And the other must be the cup that Mr. Natsume was drinking from.
But Soseki-san wasn't poisoned, of course. Perhaps we should take these so we can examine them in more detail later. Nice. I think that's Gregson.
Looks like you're having a good snoop around, eh?
There he is.
Inspector
Gregson! Back so soon?
After I threw that little Japanese fella in the clink, I went and reported this to the investigation division.
Man, pretty speeds, eh?
Mm-hmm. In 5 minutes' time, this place will be cordoned off by the yard.
Oh, I see. Well, we better be leaving then.
Bye.
Poor Mr. Natsume must be feeling very low, being back in a cell again so soon.
I'm sure we should probably go and...
What's wrong, Mr. Naruhodo?
Out! Out, brief candle! Life's but a walking shadow, a poor player. That struts and frets his hour upon the stage, and then is heard no more. Now, how soundeth the next part?
Oh, I know this one. Right. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing.
Indeed! Oh, happy day. Oh! Oh! What? Walking Dead!
I had to memorize that monologue for High School English. That's wild.
Bro.
He's not even dead.
The fella isn't dead at all?
What was that nonsense he was saying, though? Oh, please, you uncultured man.
I think... Yes, it was from William Shakespeare's Macbeth. A soliloquy from Act 5, Scene 5.
Shakespeare.
So there's Shamspeare and Shakespeare in this universe.
Yep. So it was. The victim, Mr. William Shamspeare, came back to life. If the man had indeed been poisoned, it transpired that it hadn't killed him. Shakespeare exists? Yes. He was taken by emergency carriage to a nearby hospital for treatment. To be entirely fair, Shakespeare does exist in this universe, but in the Japanese version of this game, so does Sherlock fucking Holmes. Right? Like, Herlock is just what they call him in the English version so they don't get sued by the estate.
Okay, fair.
And Inspector Gretson evicted us from the scene of the crime. Whatever that was now. Sherlock isn't as cool as Herlock, yeah.
I agree.
Susetta's book is a copy of Macbeth. It's like, she's a well-learned lad, you know?
21st February, Briar Road.
Whatever do you think will happen now?
Good question. What a strange situation for Mr. Natsume. Arrested for murder, but then the victim comes back to life.
I think perhaps the victim was never dead in the first place.
Bro, they didn't fucking check?
Maybe it's like that Romeo Juliet kind of thing.
His heart stopped for like a solid like couple hours, but it's okay.
No lasting damage.
No lasting damage.
It seems very likely that Mr. Shamspeare did consume poison, as we deduced. But was it an accident? Attempted suicide or attempted murder? Until the truth can be established, I imagine the police will keep Mr. Natsume in custody.
I suppose so. Let's hope it doesn't come to anything more than a night in the cells. Yeah. Oh, what's this? What's that man doing over there? It looks like he's trying to see into Soseki-san's lodgings. What's with Natsume's near murder accusations? Yeah. They're all like, they're dead. Wait, it's not a murder. He's still alive.
Is something wrong, Mr. Naruhodo?
Excuse me? Can we have a word?
Bye.
He just ran off.
I feel sure that I've seen that man somewhere before. Where was it?
I do too, but I don't remember. It was an entire game ago. With the exception of the top floor where Mr. and Mrs. Garrideb live, all the windows are bricked up.
Yes, that's because of an old window tax that was charged on the number of windows a property had. In order to pay less tax, the poorer members of society filled in many of their windows.
But the tax has since been abolished, hasn't it? So the windows could all be opened up again, surely.
Unfortunately, it would appear that the residents of this district can't afford to pay to have the work done.
Oh, man.
Yes, that is a sad state of affairs.
Especially for people like poor Mr. Natsume, who have to live all cooped up in a windowless room.
I suppose it's the price you pay for living in very cheap accommodation.
It all seems rather pointless when you put it like that.
Let's flip the bicycle.
There always seems to be a bicycle outside the Garrideb residence. I read that bicycles are extremely popular all over Great Britain at the moment, in fact.
That one seems very warped, though. Especially the front wheel. Is that to make it more of a challenge to ride, do you think?
No, No, I'm afraid that may be a result of the writer's incompetence.
He's like, I'm pretty sure it's just broken.
For the front wheel to be so badly warped, I'm afraid the writer may have been similarly afflicted.
Then there's a good chance Mr. Natsume has been practicing on this bicycle, I think.
Oh dear. I fear you may be right.
Garrett household, Mr. Natsume's lodgings, are in a prominent position there on the corner. Sometimes when I look at the building, I can't help feeling that it's at a bit of a slant.
It does rather look as though it would collapse in even the smallest earthquake, doesn't it?
Does Britain get earthquakes?
No.
And isn't it supposed to be haunted as well? I think I might have a hunch as to why Soseki-san has such a hunched back. I mean, to be fair, like, it would be very sensical for the Japanese characters to be concerned about earthquakes.
Yeah.
London's blanketed in fog again today. The sky is covered in cloud. But if you look carefully in the distance, you can just make out the Crystal Tower being built.
Ah, the Crystal Tower, yes. The centerpiece of the great exhibition that's to open in 6 months' time.
Everyone's talking about the Great Exhibition of London at the moment, it seems.
Well, it's to be the largest event of its kind anywhere in the world, with technology and scientists from all over. I can't wait for it myself.
Do you think visiting students from the Far East like us will be granted entry?
The last great exhibition that was held in London had more than 6 million visitors, it seems.
That's a lot.
And this time, the British are determined to make an even bigger success to outdo the Paris exhibition.
I see. That's an incredible number of people. And with so many people expected to attend, we should easily be able to slip in unnoticed.
There's always the honest approach of buying tickets at the main entrance, Mr. Naruhodo.
I was gonna say, Ryunosuke's so fucking slippery. He's like, I bet I could sneak in there. Why has somebody built this snowman on some sort of pedestal, do you think?
That's not a pedestal, Mr. Naruhodo. That's part of the snowman's body.
Really? But it already has a perfectly good body.
Well, it's true that British snowmen are usually made with 2 balls of snow. Perhaps this is a foreigner.
Now we're looking at him as if he's strange. Poor man. I know how he feels.
If anything, it's Japanese and British 2-ball snowmen that are the strange ones, isn't it? After all, real people do have 3 sections: head, torso, and legs.
Do you ever think that perhaps you should think about things too much? In 2008, the United Kingdom experienced one of its strongest earthquakes ever, a whopping 5.2. Oh yeah, they don't have to worry about shit. Speaking of someone from Earthquake County, it's not... that ain't shit. I like that we can go to the Garridib's room and prison.
Yes, Fabu. Garridib's room.
Here we are again. The eccentric landlord's eccentric top floor abode.
We're here because Mr. Garridub's the one who discovered the incident this morning. Don't forget.
Ah, you chaps, eh? Yes. Good morning, sir.
Thank you for your cooperation in contest, eh?
It was quite a trial. As much for Mr. Garridib as anyone, really.
Came straight back here after all that business at the Bailey yesterday. Didn't expect to wake up to more bally nonsense this morning.
I wonder if you wouldn't mind telling us exactly what happened, Mr. Garridub.
Yes, I suppose you'd like to know all about that Ted loss of an actor chap in the ground floor room.
Those were exactly Inspector Gregson's words, weren't they? Oh, he's getting up from his chair.
Hmm.
Must have been a real shock for you this morning. I hear that you discovered what had happened.
Ah, well, I'd hope this actor chap rises at 5 o'clock sharp every morning without fail. But at 5:30 this morning, he still hadn't lit the gas. So I went down and knocked on his door, but no bally answer.
And that's when you broke into his room by kicking down the door?
Well, I called on that rum-looking Japanese chap to do the grunt work, of course.
Wasn't it a little premature to kick the door down? The man could have just overslept by half an hour.
That's very true, Mr. Naruhodo. If 30 minutes oversleeping warranted such behavior, I'd have to kick your door down every morning.
Please don't.
Oh.
Well, to be safe than sorry and all that.
Oh,
Just me, or is he avoiding our gaze now all of a sudden?
sweating?
Sweating? He's sweeting?
Except that it was a sorry situation indeed that you found on the far side of the door.
The victim's name is Mr. Shamspear, I believe. Is that right?
Yes, William Shamspeare. Took the ground floor room 3 months ago now.
Does Garrett know that he's alive? I don't think he does.
And how would you describe him?
In a word, destitute.
Destitute?
Let's face it, the redeeming feature of that room is the cheap rent. Anyone wanting to live in a place like that is either broke or is a bag of screws.
So hard to choose which category Soseki-san would fall into.
Mr. Naruhodo, that's a little rude.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Hmm.
He was doing research as well.
Research? Into what?
Shakespeare, of course, Shakespeare. A few plays of the old bard myself, you know. Romeo and Hamlet and all that.
Yes, William Shakespeare is England's most highly regarded classical playwright and author.
We're really going into this Shakespeare stuff.
He's known as Sao in Japanese, as you know, and many of his works have already been translated.
Oh, is that true?
Hmm.
I mean, hang on. I'm looking at this. That is wild. Oh, are you fucking kidding me? I don't want to subscribe. Okay. From 1868 to the end of the Taisho era, which is 1912 to 1926, Shakespeare became so naturalized in Japan that he assumed his own Japanese name.
Wow.
So that's why they call him Shao.
Oh,
That's pretty funny.
that is funny.
Cool. Japan does love some stuff here and there. They love Shakespeare. They love Hamlet. Why did I say Hamlet? I meant to say another author. They love Kafka. They love Kafka.
They do love Kafka, yeah.
This reminds me, actually, I went to a Japanese grocery store earlier today, and they had this really cute thing where they had some okra, but it was spelled like it would be spelled phonetically for like a Japanese person. So it was okra, but with an extra U, so it's okura.
Okura. I love that.
And Doyle. Oh yeah, you know Japan loves their Doyle.
Yeah, they love it.
It seems incredible that Shakespeare was shortened to Sao, though. Someone was too heavy-handed there. There were a lot of costumes in the victim room, actually, weren't there?
Of course, Mr. Natsume is a scholar of English literature as well. I imagine he and Mr. Shamsphere would have had much in common.
Shakespeare interpretation disagreement leads to shocking murder. Well, let's hope it's not that.
Mr. Naruhodo, really, how rude!
After Mr. Natsume's trial yesterday, you came straight back here, I believe, didn't you? Did you notice anything strange between then and this morning? Well, now, it must have been about 6 in the evening by the time I got home. Snow was coming down rather heavily as I remember, but it was completely dark already. That failed actor chap was out at the time. Mr. Garrett had noticed there was no light from his room or something, I suppose. Couldn't summon the energy for anything much, so I just sat in front of the fire up here. It was after 8 before Shamsphere got back. The chap was up until past 1 in the morning, I'll have you know. Suppose he met his end sometime after that. I was asleep by then, so I'm rather in the dark there. Well, thank you. That was very illuminating. By the way, he's not dead? I think. Is everything alright, Mrs. Sato?
Well, I was just thinking it's a little strange, that's all. Mr. Garrett, you were up here in your room all evening, if I've understood correctly?
Not a big fan of stairs. Not with this blasted leg.
Then how is it that you seem to know? The precise movements of your tenant on the ground floor, I mean.
That's a very good point. I can't imagine that you could hear noises from the ground floor all the way up here. It would make your apartment even shittier. Does this old man like to spy on his tenants? Is that it? I say, I know what you're thinking, and it's a bally outrage. I'm ex-military, don't you know? I don't go around spying on my tenants. Why would I?
Then how did you know, Mr. Garrett?
It's the gas woman. The gas tells me everything. It's something a crazy person would say. The gas!
The gas!
I hear the gas speaking to me! The gas? What on earth do you mean, sir? How can the gas tell you anything, let alone everything? Well, as you're probably aware, the gas is supplied to the building by pipes. Yes, I'd more or less worked that out.
Every room in the building is connected by a single pipe to the gas main outside. And the gas company supplies gas to properties via the main.
Eldritch Patron, formless gas. Gaseous form. Yes, I understand that too. Let me see if I can explain. Let's say I was to light the gas lamps up here. What do you suppose would happen? Well, obviously the room would get brighter. Exactly. But at the same time, the lights in all the other rooms of the house would dim for a moment. Won't they dim? Why?
Perhaps it's because when you light a gas lamp, it briefly uses more gas than usual. And that reduces the amount of gas in the pipe for the other lamps that are connected to it. That might explain why the other lamps dim momentarily, mightn't it?
Yes, of course, because everything's connected to a single supply pipe.
Is that supposed to happen, though? It sounds rather undesirable.
Jolly good point. Fact is, the gas company's pipes in these parts are pretty hopeless. Long ones. And barely got any gas in them to start with. Opposite's also true, of course. Extinguish the lamps up here and they glow brighter than the rest of the house. Oh, right, I see. So by watching the flickering of the lamps in one room, you can determine what's happening elsewhere. How delightfully, like, murder mystery clue. You've got it.
Oh, of course, because when people come back home in the evening and before they go to sleep at night... what they're guaranteed to do is either light or put out their lamps and fires.
Clever. In point of fact, the room on the ground floor and the one above it uses slightly different amounts of gas. By watching the lights in here closely, I can work out almost exactly what's going on in the whole house.
Gosh, that's fascinating, Mr. Garrideb. Absolutely fascinating.
I think you need some hobbies.
Ah.
Oh, well, nothing to it, really. I can't really see that it's gonna help us with the case, either. What I'd like to know is why Mr. Garrideb is so interested in what his tenants are up to in the first place. Get some hobbies, man. I feel like there's more to it than idle curiosity. Well, we've done as much investigating here as we can, I think. Perhaps we ought to go to the prison and speak with Mr. Natsume again.
A good idea.
First, let's look at the things. Oh, this is still destroyed. The shelves look like they've been completely torn apart by a wild beast. Reminds me of the Battle of Maiwand, don't you know? The experiences of a seasoned veteran. We had us surrounded on all sides. We really thought we were done for, the whole ballet company. We had taken a real pounding from their cannons, so all we could do was run for our lives. Oh. I thought that story was going in a different direction, actually. His other hobby is maids. You know what? You're right. Yeah, the whole experience taught me one thing, I can tell you. You're done for. You're really done for. Ugh, that's not what a lawyer who often finds himself under fire wants to hear. Oh, we're hydrating.
Ah! Chill in, Len.
Hi, Chi.
Thanks for the hydration. Ease Chi.
It says chi.
That's an impressive collection of cakes on that fancy silver cake stand there. I forgot this happens like literally like a day after the last case.
I feel sure that it was full of cakes when we first investigated in here as well. I want cake. Cakey.
Yes, quite right. Haven't touched it since. Haven't done much at all, really, since it all happened. Time's rather stood still for me, you know? His wife went to prison like yesterday. Yeah, he's just here alone. Time has stood still. Now, that's an interesting phrase. I might be able to use that excuse when I'm next supposed to be tidying the office.
You could just tidy up, Mr. Naruhodo.
Oh my god, stop reading! Stop reading my text boxes. We did put her there, yes. You look very dashing in your uniform there, Mr. Garrideb. Ah, that old portrait, eh? Drawn by an art student who used to rent the room downstairs.
Oh, you look so wonderfully young and courageous and strong.
Yes, the chap presented it to me one day and asked if I'd let him off the month's rent in return. Oh, I see. So, you did, presumably? Probably well did not. All landlords are bad.
Oh,
A portrait is a portrait, but rent is rent, eh? And yet it's still there proudly on the wall. Good to see Mr. Garrideb's Medal of Honor still proudly displayed on the wall.
the inscription reads, "For distinguished participation," if you remember.
It's a participation trophy.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I remember, because I remember thinking even I might stand a chance of picking up honors like that. Wouldn't know to look at me now, perhaps, but I had my devil-may-care days, you know. Devil-may-care? What did you get up to? Well, all in the past now, of course. Best left there. Best not. I want to know now. Ah, yes, those enormous mortar shells. It's quite something seeing them up close, isn't it?
Didn't you say something about firing them into the barracks, Mr. Garadab?
Ah, you remember, do you? Just a little mishap that occurred during training one day. What are you doing firing on your own men? The captain bellowed at me. I'm not surprised. A little mishap doesn't really do it justice, does it? Well, one has these little incidents when one's a hot-headed young private. Perhaps I should put some evidence that resulted from one of my little mishaps on display.
Oh, does the great lawyer, like the great detective, want to exhibit some trophies of his finest moments?
My god, Susato's coming for us today. Holy shit. Can't have a moment of peace around here. There's a single apron drying on that enormous cannon-shaped clothes horse. Look.
No, Mr. Naruhodo, that's a real cannon.
I knew that. I was just testing you. Piece of history, that is. Plenty of action on the battlefields, I can tell you. Now your girl and I are just enjoying the peace and quiet of retirement together. And of course, she'd come in handy if the enemy decided to launch an attack again. Is there a war going on that I don't know about? How do you get a cannon up the stairs? You know what? That's a very good question.
That's your military uniform, isn't it, Mr. Garadab?
Well, ceremonial garb, yes. Hanging on the wall ever since my retirement bash. Not in active service now, you know. How do you steal it out of whatever barracks that belongs to? You know, that's a good question. And now that I think about it, like he was like a colonial soldier in like India. So like he probably brought it back from India. Doesn't mean much to me anymore. You could have the old thing if you wanted it.
Well, it might suit Lord Van Zeeks, perhaps. An overly ostentatious outfit like this could be just what he needs.
Very tactful, Miss Susato. Very tactful indeed.
Oh, a copy of Ranst magazine. The Adventures of Herlock Sholmes is being read all over London. Isn't it wonderful?
Naturally, one asks oneself if such a singular detective could really exist. But, having met the chap, it's undeniable. He's most certainly singular. Singularly dangerous. That's genuine public opinion for you, Miss Susato. Perhaps it should be reflected in the stories.
Make no mistake, Mr. Naruhodo. I intend to snuff out the sort of public opinion we just heard, personally.
Oh my god, she's coming! I'm starting to see where Mr. Sholmes' untainted reputation comes from.
Susato, the one woman protecting it.
She's fucking eliminating all obstacles. 21st February, local prison, cell 9. Susato woke up today and chose violence. She really did.
Look, Mr. Naruhodo. Mr. Natsume, have the police finished questioning you now?
Locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire? Oh, yes? What is he? Tell me. Is he a ghost? Is he here to haunt me? Let me guess, you're talking about Mr. Sholmes?
He actually calls himself a great detective, Mr. Natsume, not a ghost.
But his diabolic deductions, they're not of this world. They've left me... Ah, cursed! I'm cursed, I tell you!
Well, that sort of hurts.
credit where credit is due, Mr. Naruhodo. You were heavily involved in the deduction too.
There it is.
God, bro. Hey, Mrs. Soto. I can't take it anymore. Yes. Okay, moving on. We have some wonderful news. Oh?
The victim that we all thought was dead has come back to life again.
Now, in the absolutely worst case, you could only be tried for attempted murder.
Hey, isn't that great?
Great, isn't it, Mr. Natsume? It's terrible!
Oh,
I'm stuck in this cell suffering for some silly wrong end of the stick. You did it, didn't you? Confess, you're a killer. Why the mustache? Constant questions. I'm sorry to hear that. I think the mustache is very neat.
Selfish shyster! Make up your mind! Are you dead or alive? You've got to come back to life. Why bother dying?
Wickedly wishy-washy, William. Well, it seems likely that Mr. Shamspear was never actually dead in the first place. Oh, yes. That might make sense. And I'm pleased that he's alive, of course. Our lively debate last night was much fun. I'd be sad to think it was our last.
Oh.
Oops.
Uh.
Mr. Natsume, does this mean that you did see the victim last night? You met with Mr. Shamspear, didn't you? I'm not saying another word. I demand to have a lawyer present. Who do you think I am? Oh, please, Mr. Natsume, we need to hear your side of the story. Why am I cursed like this? Can you tell us exactly what happened last night then, Mr. Natsume? There's nothing to tell, but Mr. Naruhodo Esquire, I'm eternally grateful to you for helping me with that accursed case yesterday. The case that saw poor Miss Green hospitalized after she ended up with a knife in her back.
it's hard to believe that was only yesterday.
Yeah, it sure is. After the trial was over, I trudged my weary way back to my lowly lodgings. And that evening at 9:30 it must have been, I visited Mr. Shamspear. So you did go to the victim's room then?
As we feared.
I didn't do anything wrong. I'd never been to his room before. It was the first time.
Then what made you decide to go? I bumped into him when I arrived back at the house. We got chatting and it developed into a discussion. But he had to go out, so I bade him farewell. That ties in with what Mr. Garrett said, that the victim went out and came back after 8. You know what? I just realized something. Like, we do have direct references to Shakespeare and stuff, but then, like, we have these, like, weird off-brand titles for, like, English canonical literature, like, the Canterbury Yearnings.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why? What's the distinction?
I mean, Shakespeare's old enough to not worry about, like, copyright and
You
estates
say
or
that, but the
whatever.
Canterbury Tales was older than Shakespeare. It's
Then
like,
I don't know. Maybe
yeah,
maybe
it's
they're
like
still in a
Middle
state.
English.
I have no idea.
Chaucer? Yeah, Chaucer's like old as shit.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. And that April with the shower suit, etc., etc. I had to read it for an English class.
Oh.
We met again later that evening, at around 9 or just after, when I took him some nice tea I'd brewed as a gift. So it was you who brought the tea that had clearly been drunk at the scene then. Actual Old English or Middle English. It is, so it's Middle English, which is the weird one that like kind of almost is parsable as like a modern English speaker, but is still pretty dense and incomprehensible. There are many versions that kind of shift the original text in a direction where it's more legible and more parsable for like somebody who isn't familiar with like Middle English. And is it Middle English or is it early modern English? I gotta look this up now. Yeah, it's Middle English. That's what I thought. Yeah. Shakespeare's early modern. Yeah, that's okay. That's what I remember.
And I suppose you were discussing the works of Shakespeare, were you?
The game writers don't actually know the Canterbury Tales well, so we're dodging those references. Maybe. It could also be like, it might possibly be like a translation thing. It might actually be that the like Canterbury Yearnings is like just what they're called in Japan.
Oh.
I will say, having read the Canterbury the Canterbury Tales, they're pretty like wet and wild for something that was written in Middle English. Like they're a little scandalous.
Ooh.
A little sexy, you know, like in a like old school kind of like Middle English speaking kind of way. But
Spicy.
little spicy, you know. Yes, that's right. That's exactly right. Romeo and Juliet, who was the stronger? It was a delightful debate. I like to think that they're talking about muscles.
I'm sure.
Such a stimulating subject, Shakespeare. And the debate became very heated, so you slipped poison into Mr. Shakespeare's tea. It's not my fault. He kept saying that Romeo was stronger, but everybody knows that Juliet was jacked as fuck. She had rippling muscles. No, never, not at all. Team Juliet won. That was me, and I'm right. I might as well have written this game. And when I left his room, the flamboyant fellow was fighting fit. I swear it, categorically. Mr. Natsume, you often say the same thing about yourself, I've noticed. That you have a cursed existence. I'm sure I've mentioned this to you before, but I've been here in Great Britain for a year now, and in that time I've learned that it's no place for me.
It can be very trying to live in a foreign land and adapt to the ways of another culture.
There are foreigners everywhere I look, and they all stare at me. They all laugh, probably at my mustache. That's the impression I get whenever I go out. It makes me scared to leave my room. Which is why I've become a recluse. But even in my room, I find no respite from my fears. I've moved more times than I can remember. And then, 1 week ago, I moved into Briar Road. Like, this is the worst week of his fucking life, my god. But why? I mean, why did you choose that place? It doesn't seem very comfortable. Because the rent is cheap. I have so little money, it spoke to me.
The rent?
Obviously, there's a reason why it's cheap. Because the room is cursed. Cursed? Cursed how? The previous occupant, the man who lived there before I took the room, died there. Yikes.
Oh
It speaks to me. The gas speaks to me. Ah, not you too. He was only a young man, but one morning he was found dead. And no one could explain why. Holy shit, this building is like killing people. The fucking gas leaks are killing people.
Bro.
Ooh, surely no one would want to live in a room with a history like that. You know what? Fucking get out of there, Mr. Soseki. God damn. I didn't. When the letting agent recommended the place, I wavered. But I bought books, and books cost money. A horrible history is a small price to pay. When I realized it would mean I could buy more books, I signed the lease like lightning. Chill might be safer than his apartment. If they let him have books, I think he would just live here. Brave or blinkered? But after I moved in, I soon came to realize what I'd done. I realized how horrible that room's history really was.
Gosh, was it really so awful? How did the room's horrible history affect you, Mr. Natsume? What happened?
At first, it was just a feeling of beady eyes boring into my back, watching me. Do you think that might just have been your mind playing tricks on you? No. My mind doesn't know any tricks. It was someone else. It's been one long nightmare ever since I was given the keys to the place. A nightmare? You've been having bad dreams, you mean? All the souls who've died in that room lean over me in my sleep and try to strangle me. That really is horrible. And now I come to think of it, it happened again last night too. The very same night that Mr. Shamspeare was writhing in agony from the poison in his body. I was on the verge of being suffocated silently by those miserable spirits in my room.
Bro, there is a gas leak.
That sounds like a gas leak.
You must simply move out of that room as soon as possible.
Yes, you're right, I know it. And that's why I'm already searching for the next room with a history to call home. Maybe
With a history.
choose one with that one?
I think perhaps you should try to avoid accommodation with any kind of history at all. Otherwise, I'm scared that you yourself may become history.
Susato-san knows how to make the man listen. Of course, Mr. Lord of the Manor is worried about the curse on my room as well. You mean Mr. Garradeb? Yes, he knows that if people keep dying there, he'll never be able to rent it again. Well, that's true.
It is true.
I, for one, wouldn't go near the place.
Perhaps. That may explain why the landlord pays so much attention to the gas lamps and his tenants' movements.
I mean, because he's worried about their well-being? Huh. He does seem to have an unusually keen interest in the amount of gas in the pipes. There must be a reason.
Bro,
why
he
keeps
knows
it
there's a
closed.
leak.
He knows. You're right. He knows there's a leak.
Yes.
There must be a reason why he keeps such close tab on the occupants of his let rooms.
Yeah, and I heard something crash in the kitchen.
Uh-oh. Okay. All right. I'll give you a little second. We're gonna dance around this gas stuff for like 40 minutes now. It's gonna be the whole fucking case. We solved the GG. You're starting to wonder if Garradeb's grudge in the final case of Game 1 is due to this case, actually. That's a good point. Yeah, that's actually a remarkably good point. It is interesting because this game was like this game seems to have been developed with the sequel in mind, to the point where they're so interconnected. Like, they obviously set up all of that stuff in the first game, and it's like not like, you know, we went back and filled it in. It's like they literally planted stuff there so that we would come back to it. I I really like the structure of these two games as a couple. I think it's actually because the tutorial is so light, like in it's yeah. Because the tutorial of this game is so light in comparison to other Ace Attorney games, it's like obviously meant to be played as part of the set, and they have like the conspiracy stuff at the end of game 1. Yeah, this is a neat set of games, but it really feels more like one game than it does two separate games. Like it feels like it's two separate games.
Yeah.
Like as almost like a matter of like obligation, right? It's like they had to put a game out. Like this game was too big, so they had to just like split it into two and then like do that. And I wouldn't be surprised if they were originally being conceptualized as just one like really big game, and then they realized halfway through that they like just had way too much stuff and they needed to just split it into two games. Because like Ace Attorney games in general don't have that many cases in them, right? A lot of story content. But it would make a lot of sense to me actually that it was kind of conceptualized that way, just because like game 1 doesn't feel like a complete game, right?
Yeah.
Because it has like one real case, and then the rest of them are kind of like they're like weirdo twists on the formula. And this one has some twists also, but is like kind of feels like we're sliding more into like a traditional like investigation trial like kind of format. So, all right, let's hydrate.
Are we hydrating?
What do you mean he pays so much attention to the gas lamps?
Oh dear, no, it's nothing to do with you, Mr. Natsume. Please forget I said anything.
All right, you're up, Renu.
Huh?
To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing, end them.
Don't you clap.
Oh, now you're talking about me behind my back as well. In front of my face. What's important is that Mr. Shamspear isn't in fact dead at all. Once he's come around and he's able to tell us what happened, we'll be able to get you released. Yes, please. Oh, I do hope you're right. Von Karma would slay a Hamlet performance.
Oh, yes.
She would, literally. She'd be great as Hamlet. Excuse me.
Oh.
Inspector Gregson.
I couldn't help overhearing what you just said. And on that note...
I'm here to inform you that he is now dead.
No! Please! I have some good news and some bad news.
Oh.
Which do you want first?
Always, every time, the bad news comes first. When hope is all you have, hold on to it. That's my guiding principle.
Right, well, in that case, the good news it is.
Huh?
Sorry, well, it's just a lot easier to explain everything that way.
Then why did you ask?
Yeah, right.
Why did you ask my preference?
As you might have heard, the victim, Mr. Shamspear, was just unconscious. He's come round now.
Yes, we saw it happen in all its terrifying glory. Jesus Christ! I was about to pee myself.
He's still being treated by the doctors, but we've managed to get a written statement from him already.
Oh, isn't that wonderful, Mr. Natsume?
Oh, you're not gonna like what's that statement. Oh, thank goodness! It's all over then. I can leave this somber cell.
Sorry, no, that's not on the cards.
What?
Why ever not, Inspector?
Mr. Shamspear has implicated someone as being responsible for what happened last night. No!
implicated someone?
Oh dear.
You don't mean.
I'm sorry to say I do. Yes. He's pointing the finger at you, Mr. Natsume.
Ah!
By sweet poison did he seeketh to end my life. That wicked detective, Soseki Natsume.
I don't remember that part of Shakespeare.
Ow!
So I'm afraid you'll be appearing in court as planned. You'll be wanting to make the necessary preparations. This poor man.
No!
How many years of his life did he lose because of all this stress?
And so, once again, Soseki-san found himself having to take the dock in the Old Bailey. Whether his room was haunted, or whether he was just terribly unlucky, I knew I had no choice. The following day, I would represent him in court, and do my utmost to break the curse that blighted him.
Feels like every, pretty nice character, or at least, morally not corrupt character has to be in court at least twice.
Yeah, pretty much. Because you know they're good guys.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's a pretty good place to end for the week. We'll pick up next week for the trial. Ooh, gonna be spicy.
Yeah, big
It's gonna be
spice.
But yeah, thanks for coming, everybody.
Yeah,
it was
it's
nice
fun.
nice to get back to the old Strim, the old
Wow.
Yasa Attorney.
Yeah.
I think we're still doing tier list tomorrow.
Oh.
We're doing it an hour earlier, so 11 Pacific, I think,
Oh.
probably. And we're gonna be covering Rangers until for about 3 hours or so. Maybe halfway through the Rangers, we'll see where we're at. And then after that, I have to prepare to host my parents for dinner. So yeah, you gotta get up early. Yeah, well, you got up early today, so you can do it. I believe in you. Fuck is Rangers. Yeah, I don't actually know shit about Rangers either. I don't think I've ever played one. So tired. Beastmaster S tier. I think with the revised Beastmaster, I think it's Tasha's has the revised rules. I think it's way better than it used to be, because I'm pretty sure it used to be pretty hot garbage.
That's what I heard too.
Yeah. Well, Rangers were famously bad.
Yeah.
For D&D, which is I think in some ways kind of a misnomer, but is also not really, just because it's they just don't get stuff, right? It's
Yeah.
they're not quite a martial class in the way that a fighter or a paladin even is. And they're not even really a half caster in the way that a paladin is. Rangers are just worse paladins. They have some good condition status spells like web and the constricting vine one or whatever, but aside from that, you are you have a lot of utility, but it's pretty iffy sometimes, just because you're anyway. I've never played a ranger though, so to be fair, they might be one of those classes that was way weaker on paper than in actual play, but it feels like you have to play really well to play a ranger well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for
My
sure.
experience with Beastmaster was watching some of campaign 1 of Critical Role.
Yeah, it wasn't good in Critical Role either. TBH.
Oh, yikes. That's how you know it's pretty. That's how you know it's pretty lackluster, because I've read some of the so if you've been listening to the tier list streams at all, I've been we have looked over quite a lot of Mr. Matthew Mercer's design subclasses, and a lot of them are pretty
pretty weak actually. Like a lot of them are not that strong. So if Beastmaster's bad in that context, even then like, whew.
Yeah, I don't
crit
know if
roll one
how
is
many look at these
buffed. Oh
or
my
whatever.
god. Pet health buffs and magic armor. So oh my god, and it's still bad. Oh yikes. I mean that's like the thing, right? Is that like it's fine to have like a pet. And a pet does have the potential to be really strong, as you've seen with certain subclasses. But there comes a point where if your pet can't do anything, there's not really a point to it being up, even if it is a bag of HP, right? And the thing about Beastmaster that I rather remember was that it scaled really badly because
Yeah.
you basically got access to like this set of creatures and then it never got better.
Right.
So you're just like at level 12 when you're like, watch my owl. It's not good as a bag of HP. Yeah, the original like Beastmaster, I'm pretty sure like they use like something really close to the base HP. It might be plus like ranger proficiency bonus per level or something, but it's not that good. Anyway, we'll talk about that tomorrow. So
Yeah.
tune in for that. Thanks for coming to stream. Good to be back. Good to be back streaming streams.
Stream.
All right. Well, I'll see you next week for Ace Attorney, and I'll see you tomorrow if you come into to that stream. Bye bye.
Bye bye.